Today we are going to do a tool called Advice for Victims. I am sure you understand what a victim is or who a victim might be, but if you have any doubts or need to know more about that, I am sure there are other tools that I have done where I have talked about actor versus victim. So, let us assume that you understand what a victim is, somebody who blames everything around them as the cause for whatever it is that is bothering them. A victim comes into your office, starts talking, blaming everything else, all the other people, the world in general, and you need to kind of give them some advice. What might you do? Well, here is a tool that kind of structures that conversation. First of all, communicate to the victim that the past is quite irrelevant. However much they might feel that injustice has been done to them in the past, however much they might feel frustrated with actions of the past, with results of the past, with people in the past, it is irrelevant. What is important is that you learn from the past. So, cause the victim to extract from their past experiences the wisdom that they have got. What have you learned from the past? Get them to extract that. And in that extraction, by the way, they are likely to say, my wisdom that I have learned is never again deal with so and so. See, again, that is a victim mindset. What is the positive thing that you have learned from the past? What is it you can do in a way that enriches everybody? Force them to get to that point. Wisdom from the past. The other characteristic of a victim is the future, by the way, is always bleak. The future is always going to be bad. Oh, everything is going to go to, nothing is going to be good. Everything is going to be bad in the future. Help them create a hopeful future. Hope in the future makes present much easier. Ask them what might be a great future. What would that future be? Have them imagine a future that they would really like. And by the way, in that process, cause them to create that future where there is enrichment of all, not just themselves. Having done that, focus on the present. That is what is important for a victim. The victim needs to focus on the present. The present. But they got to face the present reality as reality is, not as they wish it were. They have to face reality as reality is. They are often looking at it from their colored glasses. So, force them to face reality as reality is. Wisdom from the past, a hopeful future, face reality as reality is. Now, given that reality, tell them, do what you think is right. Do what is right and everything else shall follow. Do what is right. At this moment, what is right? Let me give you a great example here. In my career, I have ran a number of different businesses, but this one really stands out for me as a trying time, because it happened rather suddenly. I needed to make a decision. We made the decision, and we did what we said was right, but it was not easy. Here's what happened. So, I am in my staff meeting, and Pat Stevens is my executive assistant, and she is called out of the staff meeting. She is with me in the staff meeting, but she is called out by the receptionist. We are continuing the meeting. We don't know what's happening. Stuff like that happens all the time. Pat Stevens comes back, and she says to me, whispers to me, Balaji, Chemo is on the line. He badly needs to talk to you. I think you are going to have to step out and take this call. Chemo Karunan, a good friend of mine, by the way, still stay in touch with him. He was my vice president for sales in Europe. So, Chemo is on the line. He's a great guy. He's a very straightforward guy. Tells you as it is. Doesn't sugarcoat anything, doesn't camouflage anything, gives it to you straight. So, I go out, I pick up the phone. Hi, Chemo. This is all I hear on the phone. Balaji, it's on fire. It's on fire. I said, Chemo, what's on fire? Now, Chemo is prone to kind of really kind of state things in a kind of a very exaggerated way, but what's on fire, Kimo? It's on fire, Balaji, it's on fire. Kimo, what's on fire? TDS 200, it's on fire. It's a product that we sold, small little product, about $1,000, $2,000 in cost, which compared to many other products that we sold for hundreds of thousands of dollars, this we viewed as a small little product. Turns out this TDS 200 occasionally catches fire. It's a laboratory product, you use it in a laboratory. Well, that's not a good thing. No matter where it is, catching fire is not a good thing. So I talked to Kimo. We decide that we should look at it right away. It turns out that this has been reported by the customer once or twice in the last week, and the salesperson has gone back and tried to tell our service people. The service people haven't taken them seriously because they could not replicate it. So they've kind of gone back and forth, and 3 or 4 days have transpired where the senior executive in Europe has now flown to this place and been taken to the lab and shown how smoke's coming out of this thing. And so now clearly the senior executive is going to make something happen, and me, I'm going to make something happen now. CEO, I'm going to make something happen. I need to decide what to do. We decide that by the end of the day we'll make a decision. We're trying to figure out how to reconstruct it, and by the end of the day we realize that yes, occasionally some products do catch fire. So we decided to stop production. The line went down. Now, for those of you who don't understand that concept, that's a very expensive proposition. Turning the line down means manufacturing goes dead. All your shipments are now stopped on that product. Everything that you have, the costs are still incurred, no revenue coming in, and a whole bunch of customers who don't fully understand that the product is catching fire, why they're not getting their product. It's a pretty big step. Within the next day, we found that we could replicate the defect. We could only replicate it on products that were made after a certain date. Another day, we found that the cause for the defect is a part, literally a 30-cent part that we get from a manufacturer in Japan, who we have found changed his way of producing that part exactly at the time when our defect started, and we could find that that part catches fire. Anyway, long story short, we finally had fixed that. We told everybody, we told our entire customer base who had the product past the date we knew, and we gave them a more expensive product so that they could continue to work. Everything went well, but let me tell you something. On that day, closing the line down was not an easy task. I could easily have been the victim of something that happened somewhere that I didn't really contribute to. But at the end of the day, you have to say, you are living in the present. Face reality as reality is. Reality is that on occasions, some products catch fire. Reality is you will not want that to happen to anybody, and you're going to err on the side of not letting that happen to anybody at all. Reality is shutting the line down is a significant cost to the company and possibly heartburn to a lot of customers, but it was the right thing to do. So when you're talking to a victim, not only should you ask them to look at the past for what you can learn from it, the wisdom of the past. Not only should you ask them to look at the future and look at the hope and what is possible in the future, but you've got to ask them to look at the present and say, face reality as reality is, not as you wish it were, and then do what you think is right. Do what is right, and everything else shall follow. Share this advice with your victims.